Okay.
Y'all do. Y'all ain't got
Speeches calling for
$30,000.
equality
Okay.
for all
I
people.
got all kind of
He was
commitments.
born on January 15, 1929,
Is it online?
in Atlanta, Georgia.
Where's
It's on
my-
live. It's on live.
He was the second of
Oh,
three
you're
children,
using my phone.
born to a Baptist preacher.
Oh, okay.
At the time,
Okay.
less than 70 years after slavery
I'm
was
gonna turn his
abolished in the
Facebook Live
United
on,
States,
okay?
things were still hard for Black Americans.
It's getting ready to start up.
Many people were unhappy when slavery was ended, and lawmakers in some places, especially southern states, made special rules to keep white people and Black people apart. People of different races had to use different drinking fountains, different bathrooms, and even had to go to different schools. The Supreme Court ruled that it was legal as long as things were separate but equal. This separation between people of different colors was called segregation. This was the atmosphere that young Martin Luther King grew up in. He attended a segregated school, where he did so well that he was able to skip 2 grades and graduate at the age of 15. Shortly after graduating, he began studying at Morehouse College, and he graduated with a degree in sociology in 1948. He had decided to become a minister like his father, and so he enrolled in a seminary to study religion. In 1951, Martin Luther King Jr. graduated from the seminary, the top in his class. On June 18, 1953, King married Coretta Scott, with whom he would have 4 children. He continued his education by studying for his doctorate at Boston College, and in 1954 he became the pastor of a Baptist church in Montgomery, Alabama. In 1955, he received his PhD when he was only 25 years old. In December of 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus to a white man, for which she was arrested and spent the night in jail. Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders organized a boycott of the bus system. This meant that the people who wanted things to change would stop riding the bus. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted over a year, and so many people refused to ride the buses that the bus companies lost a lot of money. In December of 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that segregated buses were unconstitutional. This was a major victory for the civil rights movement, and it proved that peaceful methods could create change. However, many people were upset by the changes that were happening, and Martin Luther King was nationally recognized after his part in the bus boycott. He was jailed over 20 times, stabbed, his house was bombed, and he was frequently threatened, but he never stopped calling for equality. Between 1957 and 1968, King worked tirelessly to promote civil rights. He traveled all over, giving thousands of speeches, writing 5 books and many articles. His hard work and speaking ability earned him respect and a personal meeting with President John F. Kennedy. Of all his speeches, his most memorable was the I Have a Dream speech, delivered on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in 1963 to a listening crowd of 250,000 people.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
That year, Martin Luther King was named Time magazine's Man of the Year, and in 1964 he received the Nobel Peace Prize. Around the same time, partially as a result of his efforts, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act, which made segregation and discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin illegal. King gave his final speech on April 3rd, 1968.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
The next day, while he was standing on his hotel balcony, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed. He was 39 years old. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill creating a national holiday to remember King's life and accomplishments. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is celebrated on the third Monday every January in honor of the man whose dream of peace and equality helped change a nation. I hope you enjoyed learning about Martin Luther King Jr. today. Goodbye till next time.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Jumpstart USA. Welcome to Kentucky Heart Media. Power 106 FM on the dial. Miss TK.
What's up, Commander? How are you today?
Hello.
Hello to you.
You know, at this stage in life, it's always good to have some help. So we're going to introduce an intern today.
Okay.
If we can get her to come over here
Come on over here.
and stop creating all that distance with us. The youth has come along to help the senior citizens and others to get on and introduce yourself. So,
Hi, my name is Araya Bradford, and I'm interning.
Speaking to Mike and
okay.
tell them like you
What
really
else?
mean it.
What else? Give them some of the information you gave us.
My name is Araya Bradford, and I'm interning. I'm 19. I graduated from Louisville Male High School in 2019.
Okay.
What are your interests? Are you interested in radio?
I'm interested in radio. I want to find out a lot about how everything works, just in communicating with people. Yes.
Well, you're off to a real good start because if he doesn't disconnect half of the radio station to your left, is our senior state senator. This has all kind of wisdom. And of course, I know he has wisdom because he's older than I am. So you want to introduce yourself? Allow the senator to introduce himself.
Well, see, I really appreciate the way you introduced me. How you doing this morning? Right here on the eve of MLK celebrations and recognitions and so forth. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming, Senator. We really wanted to have something special. We didn't know exactly what, but we always think that getting out information is a plus.
Oh, yeah.
And our program, along with the initiative of the National NABETS organization, our entire broadcast covers a very small spectrum of faith, family, education, and service. Nothing else. And that is more than a mouthful. So I think today, if you would give us an idea of what MLK's legacy means to you.
Wow. You know, the other day I was at Kentucky State University and they were having their MLK observance. They had a speaker there. Melvin Davis is an attorney out of Tuskegee, Alabama, who lived that whole process of, I would say, the highlights of the civil rights movement. And he spoke directly to the question of MLK, and the point he made that was central to that whole piece was that MLK didn't wait for someone else to address these issues and inequities in society, but he was very intentional. And from where he was, as a very young person, I mean, just think about it. He died at 39. He was starting college at 15. And each step of the way, as he gained in leadership and so forth, he became even more and more intentional. He used what he had. He used what he had to do the best he could to address those inequities in society. And I think that's the message for all of us, that we don't wait for someone else to step out to address these issues. We engage ourselves and do the best we can, play our part with the best thing that we have to offer.
I think Louisville, Kentucky, and the 5-state area is more than likely one of the best places in America for an African American that has some dreams and initiatives and strive to want to leave the place better than they found it. Being a transplant and having traveled all over the states, going in the South and going to third world countries, I will tell you, it is a special, competent feeling to be able to land at the airport and return from a trip and look around and see the changes that's been made since the 60s. When I met you and how far we've come, and there have been some ups and downs and twists and turning, but I have pain in the fact that we have a lot of significant things that have happened, particularly in Louisville, that we have not documented. We don't have a legacy pattern laid out, and there's an urgency now, after 50 years, to try to see how to hurry and collect some of that so it's not lost.
I think you make a very good point. For instance, this young lady here wasn't even born at the time these struggles were taking place. And yet she is living through the legacies, the successes, and the failures in trying to address these issues in society. And yet she has to carry that banner forward, live that reality, and insert herself. That history that you're talking about is informative. It gives her a foundation to go forward.
Being product from the Bayou country of Louisiana, and what I referred to, it used to be third world USA, no electricity, no running water, anything, and watch my grandparents go through that transition, and my grandfather being wise enough to decide one day that they had done all they could do for me. So he told my grandmother, get on the phone, call that boy's mother, and tell her to meet him at the railroad station day after tomorrow. He didn't ask whether I needed to relocate. He said it's time. So that transition from there, going to Texas, put me in a position to one day, through mischief with my little posse, it was hot. We were coming down the sidewalk and really hot, and we had, the Crest, the 5 and 10 cent store. And I decided, my great wisdom, I said, I'm really thirsty, I want some water. And they said, well, there's a water fountain in the Crest, 5 and 10 cent store. I said, well, I'm gonna get me some water. And being mischievous, I told the guys, I said, well, it's a bunch of y'all go ahead and get you some water. I'm gonna get me a drink of water out of the white. I'm gonna drink some white water. There's a pole there, and there's a sign on one side saying white, and the other side said colored. I said, well, today I'm thirsty, and the one with white on it is closer to the doors. I'm gonna drink out of that one. They said, that security guy is gonna jump all over you. I said, well, don't worry about it. It's 9 of us. If we spread out, he can't go but to one person. So I went and got some white water, and he was all over me. He called the police, help was coming. When I got through, I went over to the counter, jumped up on the stool, and the lady that was standing there looked at me and she said, what do you want? I said, I'd like to have a dressed hamburger, and I want a Coke, and I want some fries. And she said, I can't serve you. I said, why not? I have money. She said, we can't serve, get down. And the guy in the back looked at me and he said, aren't you Martha Jones's son? And I said, oh, Lord. In those days, everybody knew everybody, and if you were so-and-so,